Srinivasan, and we're reporting to you live from California.
In this following broadcast, we'll be talking about the different economic effects of the Western expansion.
And you'll hear more about this from our local historians.
Today's topic for history you need to know is the War of 1812. You may not know this, but the War of 1812 is still greatly affecting us till this day. The War of 1812 was fought between the United States and Great Britain. The two main primary reasons for the War of 1812 was the fact that British soldiers were trying to restrict American trade and the oppressment of American sailors, meaning that on the seas, British soldiers would forcefully kidnap the American sailors and force them into their navy. In order to understand why the British soldiers wanted the American seamen, you have to know that at this time, Great Britain was currently in a long war with Napoleon, which later became to be known as the Napoleonic Wars.
Those in favor of this war were called war hawks, and in June of 1812, they convinced our president at the time, James Madison, to agree to declare war on Great Britain. Throughout the war, our nation suffered many defeats, but in August of 1814, our soldiers finally defeated the British and made them agree to a treaty. This treaty was called the Treaty of Ghent and was signed in February of 1814. The treaty stated that all conquered land was to be returned to the way it was before the war had started. So, Kiran, how did the War of 1812 relate to westward expansion?
Well, you see, after the War of 1812, our agriculture prices had increased tremendously. The war in Europe had created quite a shortage of farm products, which had then forced our nation's agriculture products upwards.
So you're saying that the reason people started moving westward was to gain access to more farmlands?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, the land that was already inhabited by the people was very bad. It was very non-fertile, and the farmers were having a lot of trouble growing their crops in it, which had then motivated them to move west in search of better and more arable land.
Okay, now let's hear from Courtney, who will be interviewing one of our special guests.
Thanks, Preethi. I'm Courtney Ramirez, and I'm reporting to you live from Joe's farm. Here's Joe.
Howdy.
Joe is a farmer who moved west after the War of 1812. Can you tell me more about moving west, Joe?
Certainly, ma'am. Alright, so when I first moved west, the journey was horrible. The economy was terrible. My life sucked, especially after the Panic of 1819.
Do you mind telling me more about the Panic of 1819?
Certainly, during the Panic of 1819, there was depression going on, and many of the farmers couldn't properly do the farming. This was because we were under the president of James Monroe, and there was new management in the National Bank. Due to this, the state banks couldn't provide us with loans, and I wasn't able to properly run my farm. I wasn't able to sell any crops, so I had no money, and I couldn't provide for my family. Because of this, my family sometimes was eating scraps, and even sometimes couldn't eat anything at all. At the same time, my wife had just gave birth to my baby girl, and a few weeks later she died because of the malnutrition. I'm sorry, but it's just too much for me. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so, due to my daughter dying, I blamed the economy and I became depressed.
So would you say the economy was the blame for you losing part of your farm and your family?
Well, it wasn't just the economy. I mean, the land itself was pretty terrible because we overworked the land, it wasn't fertile, and as I kept on working on it, it became drier and drier, and I couldn't do anything.
So you say, basically from what you just said, is that the reason you decided to move west?
Yes, because the land in the west was much better because of the better river systems, and the soil was more fertile because no one had cultivated it yet.
So because the soil was more fertile, it was better for you to grow things. So did that mean other farmers followed you as well?
Yes, a lot of us farmers actually moved together because we wanted to start over our lives.
So because of everyone going all at once, is there any chance that farmers fought over this newfound land that was so fertile?
Actually, not really, because there was so much land that we didn't know how to do with all the land, so it was actually pretty good for everybody to get.
Thank you for your time, Joe. Now back to you, Preethi and Kiran.
Thanks, Courtney, and thank you, Joe, for your time.
Furthermore, let's talk about the Panic of 1819. The Panic of 1819 caused a great economic loss for our nation. As previously mentioned, the United States was fighting Great Britain in what was the War of 1812. And after the War of 1812, both had lots of debt to pay, which then caused the Panic of 1819, where there were many price drops, bank failures, and lots of unemployment.
It's safe to say that during the Panic of 1819, our nation was facing a Great Depression. I mean, banks were failing, people were losing their jobs, and farmers were losing their farms. The banks were running out of money and therefore asked farmers to make payments toward the banks. In other words, the bankers wanted their loans back.
Don't forget that at this time, the demand for manufactured products were also going down. The farmers had absolutely no money, and the money they did have left, the bankers are asking for it back. At this time, there's also a great land inflation. For example, the land was going from $69 an acre to $2 an acre. This had motivated many of the people to migrate west.
Now, let's hear from Courtney about the Alabama fever.
Thanks, Preethi and Kiran. Now let's hear more about the Alabama fever. Now I bet you're wondering, what is the Alabama fever? I'll tell you. Alabama fever was the term used to describe the South's time period between the War of 1812 and before the Panic of 1819. You see, Alabama fever was when the South wanted to move westward and produce this cotton-based economy. You see, cotton at the time was a major cash crop, and the reason why was due to the prior invention of the cotton gin by Eli Whitney. You see, cotton before this had little seeds that would have to be taken out manually. And actually, with this prior invention that Eli Whitney created, it made it to where the process of getting the cotton seeds out was so much quicker and time efficient that it actually helped make cotton the dominated economy system, with cotton being the main source of income due to the fact that all this process was going quicker, that they could get it to the market faster, helping our economy. And see, because of it helping our economy and cotton becoming such a major cash crop, we started to extend west to where there was more fertile land. Which, coming up, you'll see how natural resources help shape our economy just like cotton did. Now on to another important news topic involving our natural resources. You see, the natural resources that we based our economy off of actually affected it as a whole, due to the fact as we started to plant more things because we were moving west because of the fertile soil, then we started to trade more, therefore affecting our economy directly. It's because of this and our agricultural base that we had our economy based on, we were following what Jefferson wanted.
Furthermore to what Courtney had said, in 1803, when President Jefferson had purchased Louisiana, which became to be known as the Louisiana Purchase, it greatly affected and changed our economy in the next couple of years. For one, the land, which was already inhabited by the people, the soil was becoming drier and drier, meaning it was less arable. Farmers had a much harder time growing crops, which then had greatly motivated them to move west. And as they started moving more west and getting more inhabited in the area, they started finding many new natural resources that they had no knowledge of before, in a way fulfilling what Jefferson had wanted the whole time, which was an agrarian society.
What Kiran said is true. We did become more involved with agriculture, but we also became more industrialized as a country. We started to trade more with other countries, and therefore it led to our economy increasing. Also, since there were so many new natural resources in the West, many people started to move.
You're right, Preethi. Actually, this town started to develop new methods of communication and transportation due to the fact that as they started to settle permanently, they started to populate, and then new ideas started to be spread around. One of these ideas for an invention was the railroad system. In the late 1820s, railroad tracks started to be put down for the first time, and only 23 tracks were laid. Then, 40 years later, it's hard to believe then, over 50,000 tracks had been laid, and at their main intersections, they were now urban centers for trade, and these trade items helped to affect our economy greatly.
Yes, Courtney, and did you know that Chicago used to be an urban manufacturing center? They produced about 21 millions of bushels of grains in just 1 year. Along with that, many large mechanized farms are starting to become more Americanized and more populated. With them becoming more popular, more durable goods and tools are being produced. For example, the McCormick Reaper and the Combine.
It's amazing to see what these natural resources have done for us. They have led to the growth of our economy at an unprecedented rate. There's a direct link between the economic growth and our natural resources. They actually mirror each other.
You know what, Preethi? You're right. Actually, our United States economy is like our whole national and international identity is based on this mirror concept. And due to this fact, even our currency starts to be produced with an industrial twist. It's crazy how natural resources affected our whole economy and everything's based on them due to the fact that now they were exploiting so much at an unrestrained rate of our natural resources. We now see that later on it encouraged this halt in our growth economically.
As of recent news, James Wilson Marshall, who was originally a carpenter from New Jersey, has found gold at Coloma in the American River in California.
Yes, and thanks to James' new discovery, more and more people are moving to California because that's where the gold is.
So Kiran, do you think this is going to have a big impact on our country?
Yes, I think this is going to greatly impact our country. For one, since the finding of gold, there's been lots of rezoning, meaning more and more people are leaving their hometowns and their old towns and moving to California. I also think that this might greatly affect our economy.
How so?
Well, for example, recently, since the discovery of gold, there's been quite a few labor shortages across the nation, meaning that people are leaving their old jobs and moving to California in hopes of getting some gold.
I totally agree. I also think that trade, agriculture, and other businesses will flourish thanks to the finding of gold. Now that there has been actual sight of gold, many companies will start to invest more in the economy of the gold mines.
Yes, and now let's go to Courtney, who is currently interviewing James.
Okay, the day with me, today I have James, and he is the man that found gold. James, can you tell me more about finding this gold?
Alright, so I was working at the power sawmill and I saw something shining in the water. I came and looked at it closer and I realized that it was a piece of gold.
So, what was your first initial reaction after finding this gold?
Well, I was shocked at first because I came into work thinking it would be a normal day, and then now I was just finding a piece of gold, and that's pretty crazy because I didn't expect that this part of the world to have like that much gold.
So, what exactly did you do after you found this piece of gold?
Well, I told Sutter.
Who's Sutter?
Sutter is the owner of the power sawmill that I work at.
Okay, so what did y'all do? What were you thinking when the rest of the world found out? Because I know you know it spread like wildfire around here.
Well, I felt cheated because I was the one who found it, and now other people were coming, taking the gold that I found. So it's kind of like they were taking what I earned. And so I was pretty mad. Me and Sutter were mad that, because we wanted to go all for ourselves, and now other people are coming in on our profits.
Thank you, James, for being here with us today.
Now let's view a never-before-seen footage of James finding the gold in California.
Woo! I'm tired. Whoa, what's that? Is that gold? Hot diggity dog, it's a piece of gold! Sutter, look what I found!
Thanks again for watching tonight's broadcast. In tonight's broadcast, we talked about the different economic effects of the Western expansion. Another huge thanks to our two special guests, Farmer Joe and James, the man who found the gold. Stay tuned for a live presentation by Meghana.